to speak to you about Anthony Joshua. Obviously, he's comeback fight, new trainer, one trainer this time against Jermaine Franklin. We spoke about it last week, and you felt like he would get the win. So just tell me initially what you thought of the fight. He's obviously had a lot of criticism, but you know there are some counter arguments. But what did you make of the performance in itself?
To be honest, you know, he's changed his trainer so many times. He's done so many things, and you know, boxing is you win, you win. A win is a win. A win is a win. I think people are expecting great changes because he had a world-class trainer. But a world-class trainer can only bring out what you've already got. And when I watched that fight, you know, I said to you earlier on when we watched the Dillian White fight, and Franklin gave him a lot of problems. I did say to you that Joshua should beat him a lot easier than Dillian White, and he did beat him a lot easier. But it wasn't the performance that people were expecting from Joshua. They were expecting a devastating performance under a new trainer, and we didn't get that. And you know, just observations from the fight, it did look like he was like almost insulted that the fellow decided to hit him. And when he did get hit, he looked like a fellow who didn't want to be hit. And there were times in the fight, you know, when it wasn't going to plan, he was looking over to his corner, to the trainers. He said, well, you know, I've done the training, I'm sticking to the plan. Like, why isn't it happening for him? Almost looking at the trainer and like saying, well, you know, I'm doing my bit. It's not working what you're telling me. Well, that's the bit you've got to work out as a fighter. You come back to your corner, you have a minute break. The coach tells you what the plan for that round is. You've got to then execute that plan for 3 minutes, regardless of what's coming at you. So if he said to Joshua, this jab, just go out and use your jab, hit him with straight shots for 3 minutes, don't do anything else, don't get hit. That's the plan. So it's no good looking through over to your corner halfway through the round saying, well, what am I supposed to be doing? You should, at that point, the level he's boxed at, he should know what he's got to do. But it just looked like a laboured performance. It looked like a performance where his life didn't depend on it. It wasn't a life and death. You know, he was under a threat if he really took his eye off the ball, but he just did enough to get through against a medium fighter, mediocre fighter, really. So if you look at Joshua's performances in the past of the fights he's had, when he's had to climb off the floor against the Klitschko's and those fights when he were really tested, you know, he boxed a lot better than that. He's older now. He's over the age of 30. It just looks like the fire's gone out of him. And, you know, I'm almost sorry?
Going to say Dave Caldwell. I spoke to him on the night, and his specific quote was that was sad to watch, based on similar stuff to what you're saying. And Shane McGuigan, who I spoke to today, said that he felt that AJ was shying away from like finishing with the left hook. He should have finished with the left hook, and he feels like he wasn't doing that because the shot's a gamble.
It is a gambling shot, but the other thing is, Joshua was throwing right hands and getting countered by left hooks. He was getting countered when the kid had fast hands, but when he threw his right hand, Joshua, he was getting tagged on the way back. He was leaving himself. He was getting caught by shots. What, you know, he shouldn't have really been getting caught with. So it's all right. Dave saying it was sad to watch, but look, he's not. I don't believe Joshua. I mean, how old is he? 32, 33? What is he?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to be getting any faster or any fresher. He's like, for me, sometimes you just have your peak. You have an incentive, a reason why you want to be the best. You know, you want to be the best fighter. You want to earn the most money. You want to beat everybody. But the desire's got to have gone. Do you understand? You've got to desire to want to win. It's got to be like, it can't be about the money. It's got to be to prove yourself to the best. And maybe because he's been the best at a period of time, when I always said that the heavyweight division at the time when he was the best wasn't the strongest. And maybe in his mind thinking, well, I've been world champion before, I can do it again. But the environment's changed now. There's better fighters coming through. And he's been beaten unexpectedly, first by Ruiz, who, you know, shouldn't really been overlooked, and then he's been beat twice by Usyk. And I don't think the Usyk performances were the worst the performances that he did, Joshua, to be honest. For me, he boxed better against Usyk in an higher caliber fight than he did on Saturday. So there's something missing. It's whether it's the motivation, the incentive. I don't know what it is, but if I'm honest, I think after the trainings he's had, he's had the trainer on Saturday night, Derek James. He's had, the other fella from last time. He's had the top trainer. So where else does he go? Who does he go to now? What does he do to improve?
Could it be a factor of the fact that he not fought for nearly a year? It was a career high weight, which he's saying he doesn't keep monitored. So it was just like, just it happened. And just the fact that he's been ring rust, all that sort of stuff. And then also the other factor is that he did beat Jermaine Franklin easier than Dillian White. So on his bad day, he beat a fighter that he's good. Jermaine Franklin, I think he's probably not getting the credit that he deserves as well. So there could be that factor. So looking at it like that, are people maybe being too critical of Anthony Joshua?
Look, I think, people are paying a lot of money to see him, and you're always going to get fans. I saw an interview that you did with him, I think, when he said the haters. Yeah, the fact is, there are always going to be haters out there. There are that who are going to want to see you fall flat on your face. The thing about Anthony Joshua is what you've got to give him a lot of credit for. He had very limited amateur experience. He had, in my opinion, a very, very good coach, Robert McCracken, who got him through the pitfalls early on. And I know because I had guys sparring Anthony Joshua, and I talked to Robert McCracken about Anthony Joshua and his hopes and aspirations for him. And to get Anthony Joshua to become the heavyweight champion of the world and make all the money that he did is a massive, massive achievement. So from where he started to where he's done tremendously well. Let's not forget that. He actually rejuvenated and revitalized British boxing. He did. He packed out arenas. He had fans behind him. But it's funny because we're in the week building up to Easter Sunday. And it's the same quote. I always recite it, and I've done it loads of times. I think we said it before. The crowds that were welcoming Jesus into Jerusalem a week before were crying for his death a week after, and they crucified him. And that's the British public. We build up the fighters and the heroes, and then we can't wait to crucify them afterwards when they're not performing as they expected. And I feel that's what's happening with Joshua. And I've been critical in the sense of him, but only because he doesn't matter to anybody. But you look at him and think you wouldn't want him to go in with the likes of Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury or these fights, because it probably would end up in a bad way. But sometimes people have to challenge themselves and prove people wrong. Even if he gets flattened, he might say, well, at least I did it. And that's admirable. But you've then got to think about the psychological effect further down the line when his career finishes 10 years later. He might have got the money, but it's no good having the money if you haven't got the mental health for it. And look at the fighters over the past who've made plenty of money and then ended up dead or committed suicide or gone down the wrong track. So you can understand with him, people criticize him, but he's got the desire to prove everybody wrong. But you've got to be careful at the point, proving people wrong to the detriment of yourself. So for me, Anthony Joshua could finish tomorrow with a load of money in the bank, walk around with all his faculties, and still be a role model and live with himself. But the last thing he needs to do, he's kind of proved everything, really. The last thing he needs to actually do is really carry on for what?
Some people, when they watch you speak about age, obviously you're quite passionate about it, and you say what you think. Just to clarify, you're not a hater. You're basically
no. But I sometimes the thing is, you can see all the mistakes happening because I've been through it with fighters. My father's been through with the fighters, and it's like somebody's got to tell him at some point. Got to be realistic and say, realistically, what do you actually want from this point? Do you understand? You've done everything you've done. You've been beat. You've beat people who've beat you. All right, Usyk, your bogey man, he's beat you twice, but he didn't get knocked out. He finished on his feet. It might not be the performances that people wanted, but apart realistically from the Ruiz fight when he kind of took his eye off the ball and got beat, fair play. He reassessed, he reinvented himself. He came back and he outboxed Ruiz, and he won. So on his record, realistically, he avenged one loss, and Usyk, who's he's the unified champion. Even though I think he's a unified champion in a very in the sense that we had to beat Joshua. I don't think he'd have beat the Tysons. I don't think he'd have maybe beat the Deontay Wilders, but he's still the unified champion. And Joshua finished with him twice and got beat on points. So there's no shame in that, really. Do you know what I mean? And even the guy he boxed for the weekend is a credible enough opponent for a comeback fight after boxing Usyk twice. So you have to think to yourself with Anthony Joshua, what does he need to do it for? Who's he? Even if he has a fantastic win and beats somebody, if he gets beat the next fight, people just say the same thing. Oh, it was a flash in the pan. It was a load of rubbish. It doesn't matter really what he achieved. Unless he finishes on a win, people are always going to say, yeah, but he got beat by him. So he's on a hiding to nothing, really.
I was going to say, what did you make of the post-fight? There was a bit of drama between AJ and Franklin's team. I don't know if you've seen the video, but to clarify, AJ and Franklin were in some sort of huddle together, and then one of Franklin's trainers or assistant trainers threw a punch at AJ, and that just caused chaos. So it's worth clarifying that, because a lot of people seem to think Anthony Joshua kind of instigated some more drama after the Usyk fight, but it was actually Franklin's assistant coach that threw a punch at him.
Well, like I say, hopefully
Tony Bellew stepped in as well. Your mate Tony.
But, sorry,
your mate Tony Bellew stepped in as well.
And what did Tony do?
I think he kind of just had a go at the assistant trainer and said, you can't be throwing.
Why was Tony in the ring?
No, he was ringside.
Oh yeah. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I saw the fracas, but look, you see it all the time. Don't you? Look at, you see fights. I think sometimes I remember a fella called Darky Smith jumping in the ring when his lad was fighting Ricky Hatton. I think something happened with Zab Judas. There's loads of times when they all get a bit carried away with themselves. I think Anthony, somebody said to me, he did the same thing as he did in his last fight, having to go Usyk, but obviously it was somebody else who was provoking this. It happens in fights, but it's not good, is it? It's not etiquette. So, maybe that guy's going to get reprimanded, or he's going to come to some kind of, something's going to come on top. Maybe he's not allowed to come to Britain again. I don't know, but it's like the people doing the fighting should be the people in the ring, really.
And just a last question for you. Should Anthony Joshua carry on and then potentially chase them fights with Wilder, Fury? Because that is probably what's going to make, this era heavyweights great. If they
look, he's Anthony Joshua, and he shouldn't be what everybody else wants him to do. It's his own personal journey, and it's his own demons he's got to exercise. It's totally down to him. You're always going to get opinion from the public because they're paying the money to watch him, and the way you judge that is, I don't know what the crowd was like on Saturday night, but as long as people are buying tickets to watch him, that means there's a demand for what he's supplying. But once it comes to a point where people aren't, then maybe you should think, well, I'm not going to do that. But it just depends what his personal journey is, what he wants to prove. He hasn't been knocked out, and he's never been knocked out cold. He's finished on his feet, and sensibly, in my opinion, when he boxed Ruiz, sensibly stood himself into the corner and went, wait a minute, this is not going, don't need to do this. And that's actually takes more bottle than your corner pulling you out. For a fighter to do that, because you're having to make the decision, you can't say, well, my corner pulled me out and I didn't want to do it. He kind of did it himself. So you got to give him credit for that. There's a lot of negative stuff about Anthony Joshua, and I'm not going to say I've been negative. I'll just say it as it is. At the end of the day, he's got to where he's got, and he's created a lot of interest in British boxing. So you've got to weigh up everything that he's done is more positive, in my opinion, than the odd time when he's been beat. And if it wasn't for Joshua for the probably last 10 years, realistically, I'll be honest, British boxing would have been on its arse. And that's the fact. So we'd all been out of a job. That's the reality of it. Because whenever you've got a heavyweight fighter, it creates interest all the way down the divisions. Yeah, we got Tyson Fury. Yeah, we have. But he was out for a period of time and not as active as Joshua. And in that period of time, Anthony Joshua was creating entertainment, a rejuvenation of boxing. And now we're getting to 2023. We've got Tyson, we've obviously got Joshua, but the stars are fading fast. it makes me wonder what's going to happen in the next 10 years. Who's going to come through? Who's going to carry the torch? Who's going to keep it going? Because the fighters now are starting to dwindle and there's no rising stars or exciting people come through. So, you know, love him or hate him, Anthony Joshua, whatever his journey is, it's personal to him. He's done exceptionally well because it's about the belts, but it's about how much money has he made. That's what he's done, and he's made a fortune. So, you know, a win's a win in boxing, regardless how you get it. And, you know, let's just see what decision he makes. And we'll only know as the fight's going, will he get the Tyson? I think people would love to see the Tyson Fury fight. Maybe Anthony Joshua just needed to get that win on Saturday, play it cautious to ignite the spark again. Maybe he realizes from that fight that there's other things he's got to do. Maybe he's realized he can't rely on one trainer or a trainer to turn him around. Maybe he's having to dig even deeper into his soul to think, right, what do I need to do now? You know, take more responsibility. He's made a step. I think he's got rid of the massive entourage that he's got. He might work with Derek again. I don't know. But you can't blame that performance on Derek. He just did what he had to do. And he got Joshua the win. So, you know, we'll only tell from the next fight.
So, Dom, I genuinely appreciate your time. I know you have to Dubai again, so enjoy your trip and
yeah,
see you soon.
No problem.